We work to identify any failures or gaps in the university's control environment, compliance programs, and culture which may have enabled these crimes against children to occur on the Penn State campus and go undetected and unreported for at least 14 years.
That was former FBI Director Louis Freeh in Philadelphia just moments ago at a press conference outlining the findings of an independent investigation into the handling of child sex abuse allegations at Penn State. The results are not, well, they're as you would expect them. They are not pretty. Morning, everyone. This is the Markets Hub. We're starting here this morning with the Penn State scandal because this is the news this morning. This press conference, like I said, it is going on live right now. And the Wall Street Journal's Kris Maher is at the press conference, has a few minutes to talk to us about it. Good morning, Kris. How are you?
Good, Paul. Good to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
So let's see. This press conference started at 10 o'clock. Tell us, what have we found out so far?
Well, this is a pretty damning report. I mean, I sort of feel like the verdict on Jerry Sandusky came last month, and in some ways I think people are going to view this report by Louis Freeh as the verdict on Penn State. Essentially, Mr. Freeh said that the most powerful man at Penn State failed to take any steps for 14 years to protect the children that Jerry Sandusky had victimized. So it's pretty clear condemnation of top officials at the university.
Right, and we're talking, of course, about obviously the head coach, Lou Paterno, the president, Mr. Graham Spanier, and a couple of others. They're all gone now, but these results that they're finding here, this is obviously a bad thing for Joe Paterno and his legacy. How badly is this going to hit Penn State? How badly is this going to hit the university, the trustees? What exactly are the ramifications of these results?
Yeah, I think it's definitely clearly a hit to Penn State's reputation, probably to Joe Paterno's legacy as well. A lot of people were hopeful that, there would be more that would come out that would sort of exonerate Mr. Paterno in particular. I think there could be some legal ramifications as well. Just from what I heard Mr. Freeh say before a few minutes ago, it's not clear, if more charges will be forthcoming against the two administrators at Penn State who have been criminally charged so far. And also, the lawyers for some of the victims of Mr. Sandusky have been they've really been waiting for this report to come out because they felt that it could, really impact their civil litigation against the university in particular.
Right. I think a lot of the defense in the early days of this was, well, we didn't really know. We didn't know exactly what we were looking at. We didn't know exactly what was going on. But this report sort of lays out step by step on a timeline exactly what was going on, what they saw, and what they didn't do. Isn't that right?
Yeah. I mean, it clearly shows, apparently the investigators that work with Mr. Freeh had sifted through something like 3.5 million emails and other documents, but they found a few that were really pertinent to some allegations of abuse back in 2001. And those emails show that, the four men that you mentioned before, the Paterno, Spanier, Curley, and Schultz, had been considering reporting this 2001 allegation to police, but then they changed their mind. That's very sort of clear evidence, pretty damning, that they did know something at one point in time and did nothing about it.
Yeah, you know what I thought was interesting? In the snippet we played from Mr. Freeh at the beginning of the show, he said that this was going on at least 14 years. Are there now any sort of indications maybe that it was going on even longer than that? Or are they just saying that's as far back as we know of?
Yeah, I think he's saying that's as far back as they know and as far as the evidence goes. I mean, the prosecutors in the case have said, during the trial of Sandusky that they believe that, this was going on prior to, the time period that it included the charges, those 14, 15 years.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Joe Paterno is deceased. Jerry Sandusky, like you said, has been convicted. He's going to appeal it. This isn't going to help him. But what I want to know is the trustees at Penn State, they are going to look at this report. They're going to read it, digest it. What exactly can they do different now? I mean, the damage is done, obviously. What can they do different now to at least make sure that something like this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, the Freeh report made, apparently I think it's 119 recommendations, but the basic thing that Freeh recommended was stronger compliance culture, hiring a chief compliance officer, having better reporting, within the university. And he said that the university, in this case, failed to adhere to the Clery Act, which requires reporting of, any crimes on campus. So it does seem there's a lot of, there is some administrative stuff they can do. I don't know. It seems like they're going to have to do quite a bit to repair their public reputation, though, as well.
Right. And let's talk about that public reputation right now. I mean, Penn State obviously has been stained by this. You talked about there might be some more criminal charges depending on how, on this report. Can you get into a little more about that?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that people were wondering about was whether Graham Spanier, the former president who has not been charged, whether there'd be any evidence in this report that would, signal that more charges could be brought by prosecutors. I think just a minute ago I heard Freeh say that he didn't want to make any kind of legal judgment. That's a job for the prosecutors. And I don't think he actually came out and said there was any sort of conspiracy, which would be, that's potentially a charge that could be brought. And I think it's unclear whether there could be more charges against Curley and Schultz, the former athletic director and the former vice president of business administration. But I'm sure prosecutors who they have this report already, they have all the findings. I'm sure they're looking very closely at all that.
Now, lastly, Kris, before I let you get back, Jerry Sandusky, we know he's going to appeal his conviction. How does this report play into that appeal?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the appeal is going to be more focused, if there is one, it's going to be more focused on what happened at the trial. In particular, what happened a lot of times out of the open court. There were a lot of meetings between the lawyers and the judge in the judge's chambers because the judge was apparently concerned that, if things happened in open court, discussions about evidence and those types of things, that they could get reported and, eventually get back to the jury. So I think the appeal is going to mostly focus on what exactly happened at the trial.